Okay. So the short version is that I had to make the decision to put Daisy down due to cancer complications. Yeah. I've stepped away from streaming and Twitch for a while. I don't know if it's permanent, right? I might come back. I don't know. But anyway, that's what happened. The long version, if you want the long version, which will be, it's a little bit of like who I am. Daisy was a big part of who I am, right? So it'll be a little bit personal, a little bit emotional, and a little bit morbid, I guess. I don't, anyway. So I got Daisy in 2016, which is 8 years ago now, right? I was living a happy bachelor life, right? Doing my own shit, living my own life. And a coworker of mine had a litter of puppies. And I've always loved dogs, right? I love dogs. They're adorable. I've never had like a dog that was like my dog. Growing up as a kid, we always had dogs in the house, in the family, but even if it was like my dog, it was everybody's dog, right? It was the family dog. So I've never had my own dog until Daisy. But so coworker had puppies. I thought that would be sick, right? That would be awesome. I would love to have a dog. So I went to go visit. They had all the puppies set up in like it was like a little circular kind of pen area where they were. There were 8 puppies, and basically I just sat down in the middle and let all the puppies like climb on top of me. Oh, it was sick. It was amazing. There were 7 puppies climbing on me. And you might, if you're counting along, you might realize that I said there were 8 puppies, and there were 7 of them climbing on me. And that's because one of them was just wandering around the outside of the pen, like trying to escape, right? Just trying to get away. That was Daisy. That was the one that I picked. Sorry. So she was always a shit, right? Even from the very beginning, she was always a shit. She was the runt of the litter, so she was a little tiny adorable dog. I knew her when she was like this big. But that was the one that I picked. And I mean, I hadn't picked her out beforehand. I didn't know which one I wanted when I went to go, visit them all, right? But for whatever reason, the one that wasn't climbing on me was the one that I wanted. And she was adorable. She was perfect. I took her home. Not right away. Puppies, right? They gotta be with their mom dog for a while. Whatever. Whenever she was ready, I took her home, and potty training. Right? She was pooping and peeing all over the place. Typical puppy stuff. She was very chewy. She was chewing up all of my furniture. She destroyed every piece of furniture that I had when she was a puppy. She made an awful mess. She dug into the carpet of the apartment I was living in. She was a nightmare. But you know, that's Daisy, right? Um, so anyway, that was 2016. She was born July 28th, 2016. And I probably took her home August or September or something like that. I don't, you know, whatever again, there's like a certain amount of time that the puppies have to stay with the mom dog. Um, Late 2016 is when I took her home. Around that time, not long after that, I met a girl. I am not going to get into that. That's not going to be a thing. I met a girl. My life disappeared for a while. That's fine. We're going to skip ahead 6 years to 2022. Okay. In 2022, I separated from that girl. Uh, we were living in this house. She moved out of the house. And so then it was just me and Daisy. Just back to I'm looking at the picture of her over there. It was just me and Daisy again. And you know, we were living a good life. It was a good life when it was me and Daisy. She had lots of TREATs. She got to go outside all the time and sit in the sun, which was her favorite thing. She got to sleep on the bed at night, which was amazing. She loved it. You know, she never got to do that before. She had, you know, no rules apart from like not scratching herself or licking her butthole too much. But who doesn't have those rules, right? Those are the rules for everybody. Um, but yeah, we were living a good life. I started streaming on Twitch in 2023, like mid 2023, July, August, something like that. I don't know. I started streaming Stardew Valley, which is a great game, by the way. You should check it out. And then not too long after that, I got into Grim Dawn. I mean, I had been playing Grim Dawn for a while, but I didn't actually start streaming it right away. But I started streaming Grim Dawn for the Community League Season 5, right? Fantastic experience. I met a lot of great people. That's basically when my like streaming career started, for what it is, right? Um, but it was a great time. And then you know we've been continuing on ever since then. I know, you know, that's probably where most of you guys would know me from. Um, that's where most of you guys would have met Daisy, right? When I first started streaming, I didn't have a camera, but somewhere along the way, I decided to get one. So I got a camera. I had it pointed back over there so you could see a little Daisy. So, you know, anyway, there was that. We were streaming, great time. Um, okay, and then we're on to the sad stuff. So, it was about a couple of months ago, to 2 or 3 months ago now, I guess, that I started noticing a lump on her hip, her like back leg, her back right leg, passenger side leg. Just a little bump, nothing crazy, you know. Almost every dog that I've known in my life has ended up with a bump on them, you know, at some point somewhere. It was a little, I don't know, just a little lump, right? Nothing crazy. It wasn't like a watermelon. It was whatever, right? It didn't seem like it was that big of a deal. She was perfectly normal behavior. She didn't seem like she had any issues, you know. I know she was getting older, right? She had a lot of gray in her face, which you can see over there. She didn't used to have all that gray. She used to be like a nice solid like brindle brown, but she was getting older, but nothing crazy, right? I mean, she was perfectly normal. She was normal energy. She was perfect. She was fine. Um, and then, so she passed away Tuesday what the hell is it's like 2.5 weeks ago, Tuesday the 6th, August 6th, 2024. About a week before that, I had noticed her being kind of lower energy. She had less appetite than usual, which for me is kind of a red flag because she loved food. She loved food, right? FOOD. I used to have to spell it out. She loved food, and she was having low appetite. She would eat most of her bowl of food, but not the whole bowl. And she had a slow feeder bowl because for her entire life, right? She, if you put a bowl of food in front of her, she would basically like dive her whole face into the bowl of food and inhale the whole thing all at once, and then immediately throw up because you can't do that, right? So she had a slow feeder bowl. But even with the slow feeder bowl, she ate really fucking fast for most of her life. But this week, like I said, red flags, she was eating very slow. She was like picking up little bits of food and then kind of crunching on them off to the side. And then she would pick up a little bit of food and crunch on it off to the side, which was unusual for her. I thought, maybe she was sick. Maybe she had like a puppy cold or something. She didn't really have any issues apart from that. She had, perfectly normal energy. She was happy and mostly fine. But yeah, she threw up a couple of times. She always had a throwing up issue when she ate. If she, one of her favorite things to do was to eat her whole bowl of food, and then go over to her bowl of water and try to drink an entire bowl of water on top of the bowl of food. And then she would immediately get sick and she would throw everything up onto the floor. That's a whole thing that we dealt with for a long time. So I had to like limit her water intake after meals, right? Whatever, right? During this week, she had gotten to where she was getting sick, not for that reason. Just randomly, she would just be laying on her bed, and she would just go, bleh. Half of her dinner would come out. So a little bit concerning, right? Some stuff that I'm not happy to see. She didn't seem like she was on her deathbed. But she seemed like she was sick. So anyway, whenever that started happening, when she had the low appetite, I scheduled a vet visit. Because again, low appetite, red flag, right? But she was also due for a vet visit. She had to get her rabies vaccine. She had to get her an annual checkup, like regular shit, right? And so I told them about, the low appetite thing. And I also told them about the lump on her hip. I was like, hey, can you look at it, right? Don't do anything crazy. Just look at the thing, right? Just tell me what's going on, So we had the vet visit. It was the Monday before that Tuesday. So it was August 5th was the vet visit. It was a drop-off appointment because I had to work that day. So I dropped her off in the morning and I was going to pick her up in the afternoon. Everything would be fine, right? We've done it a million times before. So I dropped her off in the morning. I didn't hear anything from them for most of the day, which was kind of unusual because they're usually really fast about doing everything over there. So I ended up calling the vet at like 2 p.m. and I was like, hey, I'm just checking in. Is my dog still there? And she was still there, right? But they hadn't gotten to her yet. So they said the doctor would call me once she had had a chance to look at her. And then not too long after that, maybe like an hour later or something, the doctor called me and said that she had looked at the lump, and they do whatever like preliminary testing or whatever it is that they're going to do. And it was cancer. And I was very shocked. I realistically, looking back on it now, like I shouldn't have been that shocked, right? It's a lump. I mean, cancer seems pretty likely, but I honestly hadn't considered it. Like I said, I've seen almost every dog that I've ever known in my life, I feel like, ends up with some random lump somewhere on them. And, they're fine, right? It's like not a big deal. But this was not fine. This was a big deal. So, the vet said that they were going to try to do surgery to remove it. And I was like, okay, yeah, we should do that, right? We should get rid of it. It probably shouldn't be there. So they did the surgery and they called me later. They kept her later than usual. I think they close at like 6:30 and they called me at like 6. So she was there all day. Um, but they called me and said that it didn't go well. When they got in there to do the surgery, they tried to start removing the lump, and the vet described it as like an octopus that was like going into her. Um, and I was pretty shocked. I didn't. I don't know. Like at that point, I don't really know what I was expecting. I generally have, I guess, like an optimistic kind of attitude. Like I just assume everything's gonna be fine because most of the time everything is fine. And it wasn't fine. It was not good. So they described the kind of cancer that it was. It's a very aggressive kind of cancer. I don't remember the exact words now because it was such a, like, I didn't even really get time to process it. But it's a very aggressive kind of cancer. Apparently there were that kind of cancer has bleeding problems for whatever reason. I don't know cancer. I'm not a fucking doctor, but that kind of thing is very, very likely to bleed a lot. So they were going to send her home with me, of course, but they needed to wrap her up, and so they wrapped her up, and it's like a pressure bandage. So she was like super duper wrapped up in bandages for her whole like back half. She was still able to pee out of it and everything, and but she was super wrapped up, so she looked really miserable, and her whole like back half was shaved. It was very sad looking. In addition to the fact that basically getting news like that, like the instant you hear that news, you you know, right? You know that it's only a matter of time. Um, I don't think she gave me like a firm timeline because of course they have no idea, right? But the impression that I got from talking to the vet on the phone was that it was not a long amount of time. It was, you know, weeks or months or something like that. And you know, there's treatment options. They can do fucking you know, whatever shit they do against cancer. I'm not a cancer guy. I don't know. There's very expensive treatment options. I don't have $1 million. You know, I can't do that stuff. So I mean, she's, you know, she's on a clock at that point, which sucks a lot. So that was really hard to process all at once in a phone call. The other issue with her situation was that I guess because of the surgery, I don't like they noticed that her breathing wasn't very good. She had like watery kind of breathing. Um, I don't know if it's like a surgery complication or she didn't respond well to something or what. I don't know what the deal is, but she had like watery sounding breathing, right? Like every time she would breathe in and out, it sounded like when she was breathing through her nose, it sounded like she just had big bubbles of snot in there, just very wet. Didn't sound comfortable for her. Um, so the two things that we were concerned about after the surgery were the bleeding, right? So if the wound opened up and started bleeding again, it was not going to stop, and I would have to take her to the emergency vet because my vet's closed overnight. So I would have to take her to an emergency vet like right away, right? It's a very serious, urgent, immediate problem. Um, so that's cool. That's one thing. The second thing was because of the breathing situation, they were concerned about, you know, they used some kind of medical term. I don't remember what it was, but basically she could have issues and she could stop breathing suddenly. So that was a thing to watch out for. And again, the answer to that was to take her to the vet. I don't remember exactly what, or take her to the emergency vet. I don't remember exactly what my vet said, but it was something like if she starts turning purple, take her to the emergency vet. And I oh, that's fucking terrifying. So anyway, I went to go get her from the vet. Again, she was wrapped up on her backside. She was super miserable. She was groggy. She was able to walk. She was walking, but she was fucked up. And again, not breathing well. Very watery type of breathing. She was really really miserable. Um, so I took her home. Right, we came home. We laid in the bed that night. We were just hanging out in the bed, you know, not moving as much as we could. She was very miserable. She was super groggy. She was like really tired, right? Because, I mean, she had been through a lot of bullshit. But she also, being Daisy and being a shit, right? When she was very tired, she always would fight it. She's like a child, right? When she's tired, she gets up and she wanders around and she cries and she's looks for something to do, or you know, she wants to go grab a toy or whatever it is. So we did that a lot. You know, I tried to limit her movement, right? Because apparently if she starts bleeding, she might die. uh, you know, so I tried to stop her. So mostly we just laid on the bed and everything was fine. That night we were fine. Again, she had her issues. She was miserable, but she was, you know, alive, right? She was fine. We ended up falling asleep. Everything was fine. Um, she slept okay. We woke up at 4 in the morning, but until then, she slept okay. So she woke up at 4 in the morning, crying. very, very pathetic, very miserable crying dog at 4 in the morning. And so I was, oh, I need to give her a pain pill, right? She didn't eat the night before. She had water. She had a decent amount of water, but every time she drank water, like the water combined with her watery breathing, like she sounded like she was drowning herself. But she did have water, but didn't have food, and she always takes her pills with food, right? So she didn't have another pain pill, or they gave her something else. Oh, it was like anti-cancer medication. She didn't have that in the evening, but she had been at the vet that day, so she had the stuff while she was there. I wasn't too concerned about it. But once she woke up, she was crying, and so I wanted to give her a pain pill because I don't want her to, feel like shit, right? So I grabbed a pain pill and I wrapped it up in some lunch meat, right? A little TREAT for her. She loves that, right? That's one of her favorite things in the world. And she wouldn't eat it. And if Daisy doesn't eat a TREAT, there's a problem, right? That's bad. But there's nothing I can do. I mean, I guess I could have like forced it down her throat or something, but I figured I would just, she'll get there, right? She had also always had a hard time recovering from being drugged. She didn't like to be drugged. Imagine that. Most people probably don't like to be drugged against their will. But so she didn't ever respond well to surgery. She was always really groggy and miserable after anything that was anything like that, like regardless of the whole cancer situation. So it wasn't abnormal for her to be, feeling like shit in that situation. So I didn't think it was the end of the world. She wasn't bleeding. She was still breathing, right? She seemed like she was, all things considered, she seemed like she was okay, but crying, probably in pain, right? And wouldn't take a pain pill. So we were awake at 4 a.m. So I was very tired. We came in here into the office. I laid her down next to me on her little bed, like right next to me, while I sat here for a while. And she was fine. She was back to sleep. She laid down. She didn't make any noise. She was okay, right? I ended up going to take a nap for like an hour because I was giga tired because we woke up so early. She was fine. I looked over at her. She's perfectly okay. Everything's doing okay. She's fine. She's breathing, right? Very important. So I took a nap. And I came back in here and I checked on her when I came back in. And when I came back in, there was a little bit of blood underneath her. And she didn't want to move at all. And so I kind of like, rolled her a little bit. I didn't roll her all the way over. I just pushed her to the side just a little bit so I could see. And underneath her, there was a ton of blood. Like a lot of blood. So I immediately freaked the fuck out. Of course, right? I immediately started driving to the vet. I had to pick her up to get her in the car. She was able to walk, but not well. And I had to pick her up to get in the car. And, she a big girl. She was a big girl. So I had to pick her up, and she's like, her back half is like covered in blood. So I'm like covered in blood putting this dog in the car. So we drove to the vet, and I brought her in, and they immediately took her off to the back. And I still, at that point, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I was in shock or if I just hadn't, like, it hadn't really sunk in yet, like what exactly was happening. But I figured they were going to take her in the back, and, you know, they were going to unwrap the thing. They're going to clean her up. They're going to rewrap the bandage. They're going to hold her for a while and make sure the bleeding stops. You know, it's going to be a nightmare and she's going to hate it, but it's going to be okay, right? She's going to come back home with me, right? Surely. And, they walked her back out after a couple of minutes, and she still had her bandage. She still had her bloody bandage. And they brought me into the waiting room at the front of the vet's office that I had never been to before. The very nice, fancy waiting room. The waiting room with all the big space in it. And they had a big blanket laid out on the floor for her to be on because she was all bloody. And so, I mean, at that point, I knew what they were gonna say. So we sat on the blanket together, and the vet came in, and I told the vet about, you know, basically everything I've said here, right? Everything that happened that night, how she was all fine, except for the fact that she wouldn't eat and she didn't really want to drink, or like couldn't drink with her, you know, weird breathing, and the waking up and crying, and the wouldn't take the TREAT, and you know, obviously the whole bleeding thing. And that's when the vet, you know, led into the conversation of not letting her suffer. And I mean, I knew, right? I knew. There's, I still, there's things we could have done, right? I could have said no, god damn it, I want my dog. You know, rewrap her and, you know, clean her up, and I'll take her home and I'll keep an eye on her, and, you know, it'll be okay. I'll have more time. I'll have more time, you know. But I knew. I mean, I knew at that point what the situation was, right? And I knew that she was suffering. And it wasn't just the breathing, it wasn't just the bleeding, it wasn't just the no food. It's also like it still sticks in my head that that octopus word that she said. And all of this like stuff, like all of these issues that she's having, like it's the cancer is like inside of her, killing her. And how fucking selfish of me. To make her, you know, suffer through that, just so that I can have more time with her. So I didn't do that. I chose the other thing. Um, if you've ever had to be through something like that, then you know how it is. I had never been through something like that before. All of the like family dogs that we had when I was a kid, either they like passed peacefully in the night, or they died when I wasn't there, or something like that. I obviously stayed with Daisy, until the end, right through the process. Um, I, I was a miserable creature, crying, but I was there with her, and she went to sleep. And I walked out without her. Okay, stop. It's show and tell. So I had her cremated so that I could have her with me. Can you see her on the camera? I don't know. That's her. She's. So I had her cremated. They called last Saturday, the 17th, and said that she was ready for me to pick up. So I picked her up. I went and picked her up. They gave a lovely package, a lovely, morning package. So this is some of the stuff they gave me. It made me cry a lot. They gave me a nice card, a nice, Hallmark greeting card. I'm not going to read out everything, but happy memories comfort you at the time of your loss. Decision to give them peace is the hardest decision you'll ever make. The usual shit, right? the the vets at the vet's office all wrote nice things in there and signed it. So there's that. There's another card. There was a second card in there. This one was from the, I guess, like the nurses or whatever, the technician ladies. Again, very nice card, lovely pastel clouds and shit. It also made me cry. You know, they're passed on. It's very sad. You'll see them again someday. That kind of thing. This was the one that killed me. This one killed me. It's again, it's the usual like very sad pet stuff. So I'm not gonna read it out, but it's basically like, you know, she's in a better place, right? She's over the rainbow bridge, and someday we'll be reunited, right? Someday. And it even has a paw print. You see that? They also gave me, and this one is a little bit morbid. It feels a little bit weird, but it's also, you know, it's a really nice thing to have. It's a little like mini card thing from the vet, and this is a bottle of hair. It's a bottle of Daisy hair. It's her little brindle colors. So I have that. And then that's my Daisy. So she's back home. I also have her. They gave her a rabies vaccine, right? So I have her little rabies tag. I gotta cover it up so you don't see my personal information. Fuck. But I have her little rabies tag here. Oh, you can see the backside here. It's a little heart. It's her rabies vaccine tag. I took her collar. Because that's what you do, right? I gotta hide my phone number. Don't look at my phone number, you fuck. This is her collar. It says her name on it. I have no idea if you can see that or not. Anyway, this is her collar. So I've got that. I gotta get a nice like box, or you know, like a nice storage or display or something. I gotta do some shit. And then I also have her her last favorite, Bone. Not the same one as what's in the picture, by the way. I don't know if you could tell on the picture, but that one right there that she's holding is the last one that she chewed on, because she had a really bad habit of, with her BONEs, she would basically just hold it forever. She would hold it for months or years and not chew on it. And then, for whatever reason, once she got it into her system, she would suddenly start chewing on that BONE, that particular one, and she would, destroy it in a week. I don't, I don't know. I never got to ask her why. I mean, I asked her why plenty, but she never answered. But the one that she has in the picture is the last one that she destroyed, and this was the one that she had been carrying around for, I want to say like 6 months or something, like a long time. This one, fully intact, unchewed bone. So, that's show and tell. So anyway, that's where I am now. That's my situation. My life revolved around that dog, right? From the moment I woke up, every moment that I was here, because I gotta go to fucking work all the time, but every moment that I was here, like, my life revolved around that dog. I know I did a lot of streaming, and so there was a lot of time where she was laying there, and I'm not like directly interacting with her. I feel bad about that, right? I wish I spent more time with her. But she was my world, that she was my reason for waking up in the morning, So she left a pretty big hole in my life. So I've had like zero motivation to do anything since then. I don't know if me, or if you had watched any of the recent streams before that happened, but I've already been in a situation of not having a lot of motivation, just in general, feeling very, very blah, very, I don't really want to do shit in general. And then this happens, and I hit the bottom. A very strong feeling of having no reason to do anything at all. And I'm still kind of there, it's better day by day, right? But I still really don't have a desire to do anything. Yeah, like nothing. Yeah, I don't really want to do anything. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, right? But I guess I'll find out. Yeah, I'm recording this on August 23rd, Friday, August 23rd. And I have said that I might try and stream tomorrow, Saturday, the 24th. We'll see if that comes true or not. But I get like no idea if whether I stream on Saturday or not. I have no idea if I will ever get back to streaming regularly, because I don't like to make commitments, right? And all I can tell you is how I feel right now. And how I feel right now is that I don't want to do anything. So I might stream, and I might come back But I might not. I might just ghost, you know? I might just disappear. I strongly considered just full ghosting. I decided against it because I feel like I owe it to you guys. I owe it to people to at least like let people know what the situation is, right? And I'm not the only one who had Daisy in my life, right? I feel like I owe it to you guys to be able to know what happened and go down the journey with me if you want to. If you're still here, holy shit, right? I don't know why you're here, but I appreciate you. Um, but like I said, I feel like I kind of owed it to everybody to at least give a little bit. It might be the last thing I ever record in my life. We'll see. So if you never hear from me again, goodbye. Right. And if you do hear from me again, then I guess I'll see you later. Ha ha! Maybe. Maybe. We'll find out. Anyway, bye.